Hey everyone, welcome back to my Sourdough Master Class. This is episode 3, The Proof. Again, I'm Ivani Mama, and welcome back. While I watch this dough rise, let's quickly go over what we will see in this episode. Firstly, I'm going to go over the fold within the proofing time. Like we said last episode, this proof will be about 4 to 5 hours. Try and aim for 5 hours. We'll fold the dough every hour for the first 3 hours, and then leave the dough for the last 2. Then we will pre-shape, shape, and then proof our dough for one final time. Let's get into it. Okay, so our dough has been resting for about an hour. Now we're gonna fold it. Stretching and folding is a pretty easy process. All you do is grab one side of the dough. Don't even need to take it out of the bowl. Grab one side, stretch it, fold it over the other. Okay, so we'll try and do this way. You take one side of the dough, stretch it, slap it on the other side. And just go around the bowl, take it, stretch it, flatten it, slap it, stretch it, flatten it. Then we're gonna go around the bowl probably twice. Scrape it alongside as much as you can, stretch it, slap it down. This is after the first hour. That's all we're gonna do. Alright, that's pretty good. I'm just gonna scrape off the dough stuck to my fingers. I'm gonna wash my hands again. I think I saw that, so we're just gonna take one side, put it over the other. One side, put it over the other. Wash my hands. And we're gonna cover it and let it sit for another hour. See you back at 250. Alright, on to the next fold. It's been an hour, a little over an hour. Fold it again. Alright. Come back. Again, same thing. Take one side, fold it over the other. One side, fold it over the other. And that's it. Cover it up. Let's sit for another hour. Easy enough. So I accidentally recorded this next fold in a time-lapse format, so instead enjoy this bunny break. You guys know what to do. Again, pick it up, stretch it, fold it back in there. Okay, this is the third stretch. After this, we're just gonna let it sit for 2 hours. Okay, alright, so we've proofed it for several hours now. Now it is time to do the pre-shape, which essentially just starts getting it ready for the final shape and the final proof. Gives it a little more structure as we go into the end of this process. What we want to do, alright, we got our bread right here. It has risen quite a bit. I'm going to grab a little bit of flour over here, again all purpose. Again, in the words of the Tasteless Baker, flour up your pita. Just give it a good punch. I'm gonna knock out most of that air, get rid of most of the big old bubbles. And then once the bubbles are pretty much gone, you can roll it out to your work surface. That looks pretty good. Roll it out. Alright. I'm gonna grab a little bit of flour. Just kind of flour this a little bit. And just to give us a little bit of a non-stick surface, because it will be a little sticky. So for the pre-shape, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stretch it out just a little bit, get a little flat, give the area a little bit of flour, pick up any small pieces. I'm going to take just one side, fold it over about 3/4 of the way, then 3/4 of the way, 3/4 of the way until you get to this one side. You can flip it over one more time, flip it over. I'm just going to roll it out into a little ball with my hands. Alright, and let's talk about seams really quick. Seams are essentially where the dough came together, where we just took the dough, right? We took one side and then pressed it into the other. That's the seam, that's the bottom, right? So right now, we have this little floured area. I'm going to put the seam side down, right, the regular side on top. I'm going to add a little bit of flour. This doesn't stick too much to me. I'm going to take the same plastic wrap that we use this whole time and place it on top. That way the dough doesn't get a film, doesn't start to dry out on top. There's a little bit of cover, a little bit of protection, right? Now this is gonna stay for like 15 minutes, 15, 20 minutes. I think I've left it for like half an hour before too. It's gonna relax, right? We just did a lot of work with it, no big deal. It's gonna last. We're gonna come back, we're gonna shape it for the final time and then put it into its proofing basket. All right, I'm gonna wash my hands again. Alright, so while this relaxes a little bit, we'll talk about our proofing basket. So what I have here is essentially just a woven bamboo basket. Pretty small, fits that dough pretty easily, and you put it inside of it, and I have a little cloth. Alright, this cloth is just going to go inside this basket. And it's going to provide some structure during the final proof. You don't need a basket like this. You could use a bowl, preferably one smaller than the bowl that we've been using, which I can now throw in the sink. Don't need any more. A bowl is fine. You just need a light towel. I don't really have one for an example. I probably would not use the one that I have on my shoulder, nor any of the ones in here. If you know what a cheesecloth feels like, it's pretty much just a cheesecloth. So if I use this kind of towel, or the towels that I have in my drawer, the dough might tend to stick on it a lot more easily than I would for a cheesecloth because it's so thin. You can dust it with a good amount of flour, all that fancy stuff. Same thing with these kind of cloths too. Again, it fits into this bowl really well. I can dust it with some flour. It's super lightweight, so that way the dough comes out really easily when it's ready. So that's going to sit for another 15 minutes. We'll be right back. Okay, so our dough has been resting for 15 to 20 minutes. We're just going to peel that off and throw this out now. We don't need it anymore. First, before we get into that, we're going to take a little sifter or strainer or whatever you have. Get some flour. And we're going to dust our bread basket. I'm going to put this right here. And the flour. And I'm just going to lightly dust it. Again, if you're using a regular bowl, you might want to add a little more flour to whatever cloth you're putting inside of it. These, again, are pretty safe. They don't stick too much. Pretty easy to use. I'm going to put my flour to the side. I'm going to put my bowl on the side too. And I'm going to dust a little bit around here. I'm going to lift this up. Doing the same thing we did with the pre-shape. I'm going to start on one end. Pop any big bubbles you see. take it, fold it 3/4 of the way over. Same thing, fold it 3/4 of the way over, press it in a little bit, 3/4 of the way over, and last side all the way over. We're going to flip it over, seam side down, we're going to push it in, right? That is the seam, seam side down. Roll it out with my hands. Makes a nice little ball. I'm going to start on one side and then pull it towards myself. This causes tension in the skin so that when you bake it, it causes an oven spring. You want that, it looks good. Okay, don't be afraid to flour your hands a little bit too if this is getting really sticky. Once it feels pretty tight, take your bread bowl, flip it over, lay it in there seam side up. Again, that is the seam side, that's the one up. That is the side we rolled all together. I'm going to add a little bit of flour on top of that. And then I'm going to grab a towel, something to cover it with, and just lay it on there. Now I like to throw it in the fridge for a couple hours. Chilling it actually in the fridge causes it to go into shock when you bake it, meaning it'll spring a little more than usual. Chilling it also makes it a little more manageable to manipulate when you take it out of the fridge too. When you leave it here, it will, it will gas up, it will get really bubbly, it will rise, but I think leaving it in the fridge is a little easier. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'll see you guys back in a couple hours. So just to recap, in this episode we have proofed our sourdough, folded it, and shaped it. The next episode will be the bake, and arguably the best part. So now let's let the dough sit for its final proof. I will leave it in the fridge overnight. You can let it chill wherever for 2 hours. Wherever you've been proofing it, just let it hang out. Thanks for joining on this episode, and I'll see you on the next one.